Good morning. I hope all of you are fine. In our last class, we discussed about different sources of water and why do we need to conserve water, and what are the water conservation practices. In water conservation practices, we discussed little bit about rainwater harvesting and water harvesting in watershed or watershed management, and why do we need to harvest water, and what are the mechanism. We store water and we harvest water to for a specific purpose, and that specific purpose is mainly for irrigation, because 95% of the water is being used for irrigation. Today we will discuss about different means of irrigation and its advantages and disadvantages. Different irrigation system and especially the modern irrigation system and traditional irrigation methods we will discuss. So let us start about irrigation. Irrigation refers to the process of watering of agricultural plants through artificial means. It may be from a well, from a tank, tube well or canal. Or we can say also supply of water to land or crops to help it to grow, typically by means of channel. The river supplies water for irrigation of agricultural crops. Most of the agrarian lands are depending on rainwater directly or indirectly. Or we can also say irrigation is the process of applying controlled amount of water to plant at needed interval. Irrigation usually helps to grow agricultural crops. The process of irrigation is divided into two categories. One is traditional method of irrigation and modern method of irrigation. Let us have a look into the traditional method of irrigation or the means of irrigation. The first one is well. A well is a small hole dug in the surface of earth or on the ground to get water. It is a simple and dependable means, and it is also one of the cheapest means of irrigation. In this irrigation, there are different methods applied to lift water. It is your first one is the Persian wheel method. It is used mainly in Punjab, Haryana, Western Rajasthan. Persian wheel is a mechanical water lifting device operated usually by draught animals. Let me explain it to you that a big wheel is connected with the cogs and wheels, where the wheels have to be rotated through the rotation of animal, and the big wheel, that one part, the big wheels, one part is submerged in water, and that part, all the part of the wheels, means outer part of the wheels, are attached with different buckets. When the wheel get inside into the water, the buckets are being filled, and that filled bucket are, as the wheel rotates, comes to up and emptied it into the channel that lead to the field. This is the way how Persian wheels are being used in different part of India. Another method is lever method to lift water. It is also very common in our state. This method also used in Bihar and Andhra Pradesh. It is also one of the cheapest method of lifting water. In our local term, we call it tenda. Usually farmers, those who are at the reach of groundwater or any source of water with very narrow dip or low dip, they can get water from that well or from a source and drain it into the field. A bucket is attached to the long arm by means of a bamboo or rope. A heavy weight is attached to other side of the lever, and because of heavy weight, farmer is able to drag water easily, and it's emptied into the channel, and the water goes to the field. Another one is inclined plane method. In this method, a pair of bullocks move down from the slope land, specially is constructed from the wall of the well. A bucket or leather bag is connected with the rope or channel. It is when the bullock goes down in the slope, the water bucket is filled in and dragged up to the ground and emptied. When the bullock comes again, ride above the slope or walk above the slope, the bucket again filled in the well, and thus this process will continue until the water needed water gets. It is also called as mohatte. Let us have a look into what are the advantages and disadvantages of well irrigation. Well can be dug at very low cost, which is well within means of poor farmers. Poor farmer can easily dug a well. Auction, which are always a farmer is having, that can be used to draw water with no extra cost for buying implements. Another advantage is that even the well is a little bit deeper, it can a small pumps or hand pumps or tube well also can be attached to the well, and water can be lifted with little extra cost. And what are the disadvantages of well irrigation? Well depends on underground water, and it varies from region to region. In some places underground water is easily can be reached, and in some places it is very lying in very deep, and hilly area it is not possible to dig very deep, and traditional well dry up due to over withdrawal of groundwater. And most importantly, sometimes electricity or diesel is needed to lift water. It is a little bit expensive for very poor farmers. Now let us have a look into tube well irrigation. If there is availability of plenty of water in the underground, then tube well can be dug up. Level land and soft soil is always needed for digging a tube well. It is also called lift irrigation. It is usually found in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and West Bengal in many parts of our country. The advantages of tube well irrigation are it is independent source of irrigation and a bigger area can be irrigated through tube well irrigation. It brings up very clean water and it can be a means of perennial source of irrigation. But there is also some disadvantages of tube well irrigation. Excessive use of tube well water can lead to depletion of groundwater. It is useless if the water is brackish. Brackish means if that is not suitable for agriculture or for drinking or domestic use, then it will be useless. It is expensive also because digging of the tube well in a deeper underground, it is expensive and some poor and very poor farmer cannot afford it. The excessive use of underground water can deplete any source of underground water, and that is seen now in our big metropolitan city Chennai, because Chennai's underground water have gone very deep and domestically it is now become very difficult to lift water in Chennai. Now canal system of irrigation. India has one of the world's largest canal system stretching over more than 1 lakh kilometers. There are two types of canal irrigation system: inundation canal and perennial canals. In the first form, inundation canal, these canals are drawn directly from the large river without making any barrage or dam. Without checking the flow of water, they can directly bring water to the irrigated land. These canals provide water only when rivers are flooded. Usually, if there is sufficient water in the river, the water can be used. Water level is reduced during dry season, and it will become a difficult part for farmer to bring water to the field. It cannot supply water throughout the year. It is mostly found in Punjab along the river Sutlej. Another one is perennial canal. Perennial canals are taken out from perennial river by constructing barrage or dam near a perennial stream or perennial river. It provides water throughout the year and irrigate a large area. Most of the canal in India belong to this category. And Pakistan also have this type of canal from our Indus and river Sutlej. Most of the northwest frontier provinces like Punjab, Haryana, Sindh are having this type of canal. Of course, there are certain advantages and disadvantages of canal irrigation. Advantages are rainfall deficiency is met out by perennial canal irrigation. It is a boon for arid area like dry and rain-fed area. Green revolution became successful by canal irrigation, and summer scarcity means when there is no water or rainwater, then this problem can be solved with canal irrigation. But there are some certain disadvantages of canal irrigation, where the ground or the field level is very low, there is a chance that all water can be logged in that area and make it a marshy area. And moreover, if the water table is at the lower level, then the alkaline salt come to the surface and mix with soil and make it unproductive. Due to waterlogging also, soil decrease the water absorbing capacity. High seepage and conveyance water losses result in waterlogging of adjacent land. It may cause to the field and nearby areas also. When water is drain out, comes out in a larger quantity, then all the areas are filled with water and becomes a marshy land. Now let us have a look into another type of irrigation, that is our tanks. Tanks refers to a small bund of earth that is built across a stream or a river. It is more feasible when the soil is rocky and hard. And sometimes natural depression in a land or in a field makes it possible in a greater extent to create a tank. Of course, there is certain advantages and disadvantages of tank irrigation. Advantages of tank irrigation are: it is better option for rain-fed areas of peninsular India. Usually peninsular India have hard and have rocky soil. Means more rocks are found when we dig deep. Then it becomes impossible for farmers to dig wells. So it is better to construct a tank over the surface. It is highly essential to store rainwater in tank to check the run of water. When there is rain, lot of rainwater can be drained into the stream and goes west. So it is better to check or store it to irrigate the land. There are certain disadvantages also. Tank gets siltation. Usually the bed of tank is filled with mud and silt. When there is no rain, usually it gets dry up because of open storage of water. Sometimes it becomes a little bit expensive for poor and very poor farmer to lift the water and take it to their field. Now let us have a look into modern irrigation methods. There are basically four modern irrigation methods: furrow irrigation, spray irrigation, drip irrigation, and sprinkler irrigation. Furrow irrigation is a type of surface irrigation in which trenches or furrow are dug between crop rows in a field. You can see the picture that one trench have been dug up in the field to provide water to the crops. Spray irrigation is the method of applying water into to a controlled manner, so that it is just give a artificial rainfall to the crops. The water is distributed through a network that may consist of pumps, valves, pipes, and sprinkler heads. Spray is of course an expensive process of irrigation, but it is also quite effective in place of in case of big farmers and where plenty of water is available. Now another one is drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is also known as trickle irrigation or micro irrigation or localized irrigation. is an irrigation method that saves water and fertilizer by allowing water to drip slowly to the root of plant, either into the soil surface or directly into the root zone through a network of valves, pipes, tubing and emitters. Usually in a field, plants have been planted in with a distance. So in orchard farming it is very suitable without losing much water. We can very economically use the water to irrigate the plants. With a pipe at the root level, the water drips very slowly and as much as required in the plant's root, so that plant can grow well and we also will not lose water. Another type of irrigation is sprinkler irrigation. In a sprinkler irrigation, let us have a comparison. Drip irrigation system is above the ground. When it comes for sprinkler, the pipe are underground with only sprinkler with head visible above the ground. When activated, means when water is being supplied, sprinkler system spray out significant amount of water to cover a large amount of ground. Usually it is with a very forceful way water comes to the pipe, and at the sprinkler head that water is spread out through a very distance or very large patch of land. So it is also very expensive way of irrigation. In this poor method of modern irrigation, the drip irrigation method is very effective and very we can say economical way of irrigating a plant, because it cost effective also and do not lose much water unnecessarily. Let us have a look into modern and traditional method of irrigation. Traditional method of irrigation is less efficient and crops usually may get or may not get sufficient water. It is traditional, of course. Traditional method is cheap method of irrigation, and more intensive labor is required for traditional method of irrigation. Whereas in case of modern method of irrigation, it is very efficient because crops are getting the right amount of water and with a cost effective method. And it is of course sometimes very costly, and farmers usually big farmers are using, and it is when they are ready to pay, they can have this modern method of irrigation. This is all about modern and traditional method of irrigation and irrigation system. We must have to know about the water resources and method of using it for especially for our cultivation. This is all about our water resource, and if you have any doubt, please forward me a question to my numbers. This is all. Thank you and have a good day.